Of the 40 some thousand students that are in FCPS, one of the big things as a parent might be knowing who your Board of Education is. I know for me, it's very important to know what everybody stands for, and this election is coming up. Early voting starts this week, May 2nd. The primary is May 14th, and I'm excited to introduce you to Angie Vigliotti. Vote Vig if you're looking for her website, but welcome, Angie.
Thank you, Danny. I'm so happy to be here and I really appreciate it.
Well, look, I think it's so important for parents to be as involved as they can possibly be in their child's education. We know kind of advocacy on your child's behalf is most important, but kind of secondary is who is on the Board of Education. So, can you just kind of give us a brief summary of kind of how you got to this point? Is this the first time you've ever run?
This is the first time I've ever run for any office, so I just want to let everybody know I'm not actually a politician.
Yeah.
Even though Board of Education really shouldn't be political, but it has
Yeah.
come that way.
Unfortunately, I think everything becomes political when you're in an atmosphere like we're in. So, well, good for you because I know people. It's really. I mean, I have all respect for anyone who throws their hat into the ring because I do know you just kind of set yourself up for. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. So good for you for taking the step because without people like you, who knows what will happen. So, yeah, if you want to tell us kind of what you've been doing up to now and what was the kind of motivation to decide to go ahead and run.
Thanks, Danny. I had been advocating for a couple years at the Board of Education. I've lived in Frederick County for approximately 20 years, and I love my community. I love where I live here in Brunswick, which is outside of Frederick City. It's about 15 minutes. And we were a small town for a long time, but because of the influx of population that we've had in the last couple years, we have grown exponentially.
Yeah.
So, my child was a part of the Department of Justice investigation about 2 years ago.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had not known about the extent of his illegal seclusion and restraints until I did a deep dive into his educational file. So as a result, I, you know, uh, been advocating for special education reform since.
Oh my goodness. I can't sickening. How sickening to discover that and to as a parent not be informed of what was happening. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. No parent should have to ever deal with a situation like that. It's horrifying.
It was pretty agonizing to find out the depth of the investigation into his file, and he is very developmentally behind now. So, as somebody that has is kind of like an expert, um, about his needs in particular, and a lot of people with autism, because I've been working in this field for a long time. Um, yeah, I have been advocating towards the board for a long time. I've been working with them, talking with them. Um, Obviously, we really need to support the new superintendent so that she can make the necessary changes that need to be done. And I do know they are starting to work on some of those with the most recent audit that they did. There's still a lot to go.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that being the motivation for you to decide to do this. What do you feel are the top three priorities for Frederick County Public Schools, if you were to be elected, these are kind of like your, yes, we have to take care of this?
Well, there are a lot of underlying issues that have kind of caused like where we're at today in the education environment. And obviously, Frederick County has been dealing with a deficit in the education budget for quite a long time. So every time the budget is, you know, given to the state and it's not, or and the county and it's not fulfilled, then again, they have to like add on more money. And with our population growing as it is, if we are getting the money from the state that's attached with that child, but then they enroll after the budget has already been done, then we've lost that money.
Let me ask you, because this question was asked a lot when I posted that I was going to be speaking with you guys. With the budget as it is, I mean, I think I was trying to compare the budgets of school systems surrounding Frederick County. I think our budget is close to $1 billion. What do you think that there are things that can be cut other than teacher salaries? Or it seems that like they start at the lowest point and cut extracurriculars and things like that. Like, what are your thoughts on that budget? And then following on from that, a lot of people asked, what happened to the casino gambling tax going to help schools? Like it, I don't know. Is it helping? And what do you think we can do to work within the budget we have?
A lot of problems have compounded over time from the state and due to COVID. So people don't realize this, but we were getting an emergency relief fund from the state. However, the state level education did not like distinguish how the money was supposed to be used. And they wanted to implement this Maryland blueprint, but they didn't say, oh, okay, well, we're going to give you all this emergency money, but you should use it towards this teacher salaries or this pre-K or special education or whatnot. So where the money went at the time, it's very difficult to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I also have questioned that to the state. I've also questioned about the cannabis funding and why that can't also be going towards education.
Right.
But you have to really advocate at the state for that.
Yeah.
And at the county level, believe me, FCPS has been putting pressure on the county executive and the county council to try to provide what is called maintenance over effort. Now,
Okay.
maintenance over effort is basically the minimum that the county has to provide. And as far as FCPS goes, they have to go and advocate for more over that maintenance over effort.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I do know some of these questions are more at the state level that our local board doesn't have necessarily control over, but I do feel sometimes if the board feels really strongly about something and pushes that up, that maybe, the state will respond, but totally understand. Speaking specifically about some of the questions parents asked regarding policy 433, what is your stance on that policy? And I'm still shocked that this came through while my children were still in FCPS, and I wasn't even aware that this came through. But I think a lot of people are very passionate about it right now.
Have you read the policy at length, Danny?
I did. Well, yes, I have read the policy as it has been posted. Yes.
Okay, because the policy just talks about welcoming non-gender conforming students into FCPS. It doesn't I mean,
I
it's
mean,
a
I think it
policy
state
that's
the what I read also stated about sports, restroom changing rooms, and also overnight camps as well in that policy.
so as far as restrooms and overnight camps go, according to policy 443, it does say in that they would consult with all the staff members involved, but nobody can do anything about this policy unless it is done at the federal level.
Okay, so it's
So,
not. Yep.
yeah, it goes on, pretty sure it's Title 9. I
Well,
wanted,
yeah,
I
Title
mean,
IX was the sports
yes,
title, correct?
yes. So if Title 9 is changed at the federal level, then it would force us or force the board to review it and make sure to reflect what is put into Title 9.
Okay, so currently, then what you're saying is because this hasn't been done at a federal level, that FCPS is not bound by that policy. Is that
Well, the
correct?
policy that's implemented now states that everybody would be consulted, coaches and all of that such, according to if you're playing a sport. I mean, I'll just be honest, Annie. I mean, I played on the baseball team when I was in high school, and I'm a female. I played on the guys' baseball team. And I just retired like 2 or 3 years ago, but I played roller derby
Well,
for about 10 years, and I
nice.
played with co-ed. I played co-ed. I played with non-gender conforming people. So, and there was nothing sexual about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, for sports in particular, I don't think. Well, for me in particular, it's not. It's not about the sexual nature. It's more about that Title IX was implemented to give women the opportunity to earn scholarships, compete, and things like that. And if those opportunities, are lessened from what I understand, if, they're missing out, then I think that that is the issue for some people. But I hear what you're saying about the federal side, so, and appreciate your response on that. I read a report and a parent, I think, asked about the graduating high school seniors. It said that only 70% of graduating seniors were college or career ready. Is there anything that you feel that the board can do to help this number grow?
Um, I do. And that is part of another reason why I'm running, because despite that, FCPS doesn't have all of the budget money that it would like. We need to be fostering collaborations with organizations and other resources available to us in order to make these things happen, like in order to boost that. Now, everybody also just needs to understand that we came out of COVID, and when the kids have lost all of that time due to being out of school due to COVID, we have a lot of catch up to do. So again, I really would like to expand the career and technology opportunities. I would like to expand CTC. I would like to expand apprenticeships and more trade type, careers. Um, and that means we might have to collaborate with some organizations available to us. So I think the board can do that, and that is something I definitely want to do.
Yeah, what do you think about the board doing public private partnerships? Utilizing some of the businesses in Frederick County to help with some of that programming, especially on the trade side and opportunities like that. I don't know. I feel sometimes that there are opportunities and people out here that can help, and sometimes bureaucracy, I guess, of working with the school is so cumbersome that it eliminates or doesn't allow that to happen as often as maybe it could.
I mean, we have a lot of inequities across the county, and that is something that needs to be worked on. I do think we're doing a pretty good job despite that. But yes, you're right. I personally and on the board would support more charter schools under the public education system. I have a child in the environmental charter school at the moment. I also have a stepchild that graduated from the classical charter school. So I do think more grants should be expanded to those schools so that parents have choice. I also would like to address the inequities of the charter schools so that transportation is available to all students across the county for charter schools. Um,
Yeah,
but
if you could talk about, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay.
But I know that we have charter schools here in Frederick, and I know that when the lotteries happen, it's a frenzy. But can you explain a little bit for people who may not understand that about the charter schools, how they are funded, and why this inequity may exist in Frederick County?
Um, so normally in some other areas, I just have reported on an Arizona report that this happened. But some places they are doing school vouchers where a student would choose where they would want to go to school and the money would follow them. However, the problem that is run into for that is that if every kid, let's say every kid gets $3,000 to follow them for school that year, if you choose a private school that's $10,000 and you're making minimum wage, it's more than likely your child is not going to be there. So it's still creating inequity. And in fact, then it also makes taxpayers have to pay for people that can afford to send their children to those schools. So in the recent Arizona report where they did school vouchers, it actually cost taxpayers billions of dollars more than it would have without school vouchers. So in our case, we have something pretty significant, which is where we have charter schools that are under the public education system. So you can, get into a lottery, go into the charter schools, but again, there because the charter schools are not getting some of the resources they need as well, um, it's creating inequity. So that's something that I would like to also help work on if I do get on the board. And it's something that definitely I'm already been working with some of the schools on already because people don't realize that there are grants at the state level that are available to those schools and not available to the public school system.
Okay, great. So when we pay our taxes to the schools, is a portion of that also helping to fund the charter schools?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Um, because they are under the same obligations, they are under the same policies. So, yeah, if we are, unfortunately, if we're getting quite a bit of a shortfall in the budget, it affects everybody across
Yeah.
regular public schools and desperately across the charter schools because they are accepting students from everywhere, a large distance
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. There were a bunch of questions about school overcrowding and what the board can potentially do to alleviate some of the issues, I guess, that are occurring because of that in some of the districts. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, we are having a lot of issues with overpopulation, and despite that, it probably is not the best thing, but it could be done if we had buy-in from the community is redistricting. I do know that recently there was, a redistricting done, and, it wasn't as high impact as it could have been. But there are some other areas that we could be preparing for, and do some early redistricting, before we have the overpopulation problems.
Yeah, I feel as a parent, it's very reactive, right? It's like
Yes.
years after the issues, your kid, there's 12 portables at an elementary school, and
Yes.
then the redistricting is done, and then by the time the redistricting is done, because it's usually years as it's being proposed, it's time to do something else. So I mean, I do understand that too, just because the way everything happens here. But in speaking with the where was I? I was at FCAR, the Association of Realtors, when we were talking about housing and affordable housing, and they were talking about how these developments that are in Frederick are like 5 years in the works. So you would think, kind of working in line with the Board of Education, would make a lot of sense that these are coming. Let's look to plan on making those changes. But
I completely agree with you.
yeah. Where I think these again, there was probably, out of the 500 comments I got, there was probably 20 or 30 about transparency, or what books or reading materials are available in school libraries. Do you have any thoughts or feedback on any of that?
Um, well, I think book bans are pretty outdated. Uh, a lot of kids mostly get a lot of their content online, which would be the parents' responsibility on what they want their children to look at home. Um, and that's not something really that FCPS has any, authority over. So, uh, as far as transparency goes, parents should be involved. It's in the school system. I completely agree with that. And we're living in such a difficult time frame right now in order to retain whatever educators we have currently. And I mean, believe me, educator is not accepting a job in Frederick County because they're getting paid a whole bunch of money. They're accepting it because they love to teach. They love to teach, and they love what they're doing, and that's why they went to school. So we need to be talking with our teachers about this and getting more involved as parents. And I think it will be coming back to us as well. As far as accountability goes, I do think that the board could do a little bit better about validating um, parents more, especially when they come and speak. So that's something I definitely think I would be working on as well if I got on the board.
Yeah, I've only been in front of the board, I think maybe once or twice, and yeah, it would be very nice, to see more collaboration with parents and the board, rather than this enemy, us and them kind of
Yeah,
kind of
yes.
feeling, which is, yeah, as a parent, it's really, it's intimidating, and it's a little frustrating to get that. So I hear you on that one. You talked a little bit about good teachers, and I know that the graduation rate of people who want to become teachers is declining. What are your thoughts on how we get people energized to re-enter or enter at all a teacher workforce?
I do think more preparation at the high school level would definitely help. We need to grow our own, and growing our own means we need to be providing support and resources for people that want to go into education, and then rewarding them if they stay in county to teach. So there are incentives that could be done to absolutely do this.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, I think that similarly to what Frederick Health and some other health systems do, where there are credits for college courses, and it's kind of like enlisting in the military, right? You commit to getting your school paid for in reward for staying in FCPS within a few years. It seems like it would be kind of a simple way to incentivize people to decide on that as a career. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about, of course, how online and technology is something that the parents should be and absolutely paying attention to what their kids are doing. What a lot of parents are wondering what FCPS can do regarding policies with phones in schools and how disruptive kids on their phones are in schools. Is there anything you feel that the board can do to help alleviate the disruptions?
Um, well, my big thing is that we do need more resources for Frederick County overall. And I think that a lot of students use their phones kind of almost like a security blanket. They're using it to get all their information, they're using it to socialize, they're using it in every aspect of their life. And we can help by fostering other opportunities for them that where they don't have to be using their phone. I mean, my big thing is like the whole COVID thing. We have come out of COVID. Everybody has dealt with it in different ways. We need to have mental health resources available in Frederick County. We need at the school level. And we have to have other resources available at the school level to kind of distract and deter from students depending on their phones so much.
Yeah. When you say resources, and everybody does this, when I immediately hear more money, and so I'm trying to figure out like how these programs, which are all valid and good, especially the mental health programming, I think that our children today are I just, need a lot, especially the ones that have been in school through COVID and the pandemic shutdown. Those resources, I think, are absolutely imperative to get kids. How do you pay for things like that when we're already a shortfall in the budget and there's already not enough money? Like, what do we give on, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, if we were to hire on people for mental health, I mean, I'm thinking at the LSW or the LCSW level, which is like a licensed social worker or a licensed clinical social worker. So we could be offering these types of jobs. And again, we could also include that in our Grow Your Own program, which means, we would be supporting students that go into these fields specifically in exchange for time with FCPS.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does make perfect sense to, again, get kids who, and I even remember when I was in high school decades ago, I'm sad to say, but there were kids who in my high school class that just wanted to teach, and so when you find them, I think it's very important to try to keep them within your system and in every chance possible.
Yes.
One last question, and then I'll let you say whatever else you want to say. Basic life skills. A lot of parents want kids to graduate high school knowing basic things like what is a lease? How do I balance my checkbook? How do you change a tire? All of those things. What are taxes? And it's funny. I have a 21-year-old almost who's a junior at Maryland, and I remember having to explain like what the lease is and how to do your signature, because he didn't even learn cursive in
Oh,
elementary
yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So and you think I really, for me as a parent, you kind of think, oh, they should have absorbed this, but really they're not, because they're on miles ahead with technology, we need them to teach us those things, but how do we help kids make sure that they're ready at 18 or 17, whenever they graduate, to kind of be in this world?
Danny, I completely empathize with you on this, and it is so important to me. Um, Kids these days they're growing in a different era, but I don't know if you're a Gen Xer or not, but we had home ec, we had
Yeah.
workshop
Yep.
stuff like that, and
Yep.
then we also had classes that had those types of things, like that talked about how to balance your checkbook, and how to do they I mean they taught them in my some of my math classes as well, but we also had like these extracurricular classes that we could take starting in middle school that pertain to actual real life type situations. So I do wholeheartedly think that we should be doing this across the board. I do know Superintendent Dyson um, probably would love to centralize the programs. Um, and when I say centralize, I mean right now it's very tough because each school system is individually run, and has its own individual things going on in each school. And this is how the inequities are are made in our county. So if we had some type of centralized system that went downward and spilled out across the entire county, like, hey, here are the things we definitely want everything centralized in this way, but we still want you to have some autonomy, so 1, 2, and 3, you have control over those things. I think maybe then we can, implement some of those types of classes back in for students so that they're getting the tools they need before they graduate. Because I really believe in that.
Yeah, look, and I think you're right. Like, it's I remember it was part of math class, or it was part of psychology or sociology. There were classes that you took that kind of weaved in these practical learning things into their own curriculum, kind
Right.
of. And yeah, I think that may have helped, and so maybe that's one of the solutions for that. Okay, well, I think that is basically all the questions that I had for you, but I would love to give you the floor, so to speak, to really let people know why Angie Vig for the Board of Education, and feel free. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Danny. I'm so happy about this opportunity, and it's because I deeply love my community, and I will fight for my community for what it needs. I mean, I live in Brunswick. Brunswick High School is in dire need of repair and replacement. Um, and that's due to several issues. I'm not going to stop if whether I win or lose. There are great things about this community and about this county. So we really need to be working with the other resources that are available to us and foster those connections in order to make the education system even better.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think there's a parent in this county that doesn't believe you. I definitely know the parents in Brunswick are tired and, frustrated. And I 100% understand it. I went to TJ High School. Again, it just, you look at this as a parent, you think our kids deserve what some other schools have. So when you're speaking about inequity across the county, there's probably a majority of parents out there who 100% understand what you're talking about, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think your community definitely deserves some love and attention from FCPS. So hopefully, this May, you will win and be on the board, but we love the fact that in either way, you're going to advocate for the people of your community, your own children, and all the other kids that are part of the school system. So we really, really appreciate your time this afternoon. Wish you all the best and good luck, and we're here for you if you ever need anything.
Thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciate being here. And just remember, these are the people that are going to be running the country someday, and they're going to be working and living here. So we need to invest in them.
Oh, yes, for sure. They're going to be taking care of us,
Yes,
probably in not
yes.
too distant future.
Right, right. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
voteforvig.com if you want more information, and I'll make sure it's up on the screen for you guys. Have an awesome day, and don't forget, early voting starts ASAP. Check your voting schedules, and the primary is May 14th.
VoteVig.com.